Hey, this is Senator Justin Reedy coming to you at the end of the 9th week of the 2026 General Assembly session. We have now one more week and a day to go until what's known as crossover day, which is when all the bills from the Senate that are going to have a chance of passing have to get over to the House of Delegates, and vice versa. House bills need to come over to the Senate. A bill can pass one body after crossover and still pass the other body, but it's a lot harder to do so. And so this final week is the that we're heading into is the busiest week we'll be facing, other than the final week of the session, which is in about 3 more weeks. So as we get into that, this week we spent a lot of time on the floor and in committee working towards this building crescendo that this next week will be. The state budget is passing here late in the week out of committee and will come to the floor. I'll have more specifics on that next week. The Democrats released just today, Friday, just released their omnibus energy bill. Republicans, we've been putting forward ideas and bills and having bill hearings for 60 days now. They've just now finally put out their sort of compromise omnibus energy bill. I'm going to break that down in the future. Let me just, little spoiler alert, it actually does provide a little bit of relief, more so than what the governor was going to do. It touches on a couple of things we've been fighting to try to get them to do, but it also continues to do the same sort of warmed over reliance on these renewable energy sources as the pathway to the future. And it's almost comical in how they can't admit that their policies are what has caused a lot of these high prices. And so they're sort of touching on making some changes that may yield to a little bit of relief monthly for people, but it's way short of what's needed. So we'll be talking about that more as we head into next week. So those are 2 big items for next week that we'll be spending a lot of time on the Senate floor on. I do want to tell you some positive news. One of the things you guys know, as I've talked, is our focus here in the General Assembly from the Republican Senate and House has been affordability, and energy supply, but also accountability. We need accountability for every dollar that's spent. And I'm on the Joint Audit Committee here in the General Assembly, which has members from both houses and from both parties. And we actually have worked together on sort of a bipartisan compromise, but it's a good thing to have legislation that's trying to address when we would have all these repeat audit findings where these agencies were coming in again and again, and we were finding missing money or mistakes made with money or lack of proper record keeping, in some cases lacks of proper criminal record checks for health occupations. Had the issue with juvenile services where a child died in a hotel when they should have been placed. Whole bunch of problems. Well, we have a suite of bills that are changing laws so that we can have more teeth in the audit process. One of the bills will force, there now will be a commission that is responsible for going into agencies when they have repeat audit findings and basically holding them to, you have to get this fixed and fixed now, with regular reports about how you're fixing if it's a lapse in security, if it's not proper paperwork, if it's money that's gone somehow missing or has been misallocated. There's going to be nonpartisan folks with real teeth to go in and hold when the Joint Audit Committee finds you with repeat audits, all we really can tell you is you need to fix it. And then the budget committees can sometimes withhold money from an agency, and they're doing that also this year, which is good. But there was not any real teeth. Now there's going to be more of an enforcement division, really, to go in and make sure things are getting changed and fixed. That is legislation that's moving through the General Assembly. There's also a bill to make sure, as I said, there's a bunch of health occupations boards that were not doing the proper criminal background checks on people who were, providing health services to kids or to people, and they weren't doing the right background checks they were required to. We are addressing that with changes to make sure that is getting done. And then finally, another bill that I'm actually is really interesting, and I mentioned this in a previous video. We believe that these agencies that handle significant sized budgets should have chief financial officers, people who are qualified CFOs managing some of these departments, like the Department of Human Services that deals with welfare programs and juvenile placements. Billions of dollars coming in and out of that. Same thing with the Department of Health and other places where you billions and billions of taxpayer dollars, and they come from multiple sources, like the federal government sends money, the state spends money, even sometimes it's a local contribution to it. But there are some of these departments that have not had the right kind of people in a CFO type position. They've had people managing stuff, but not always Some have had CFOs, but many times there haven't been. So we're making sure that every department has a qualified and accountable CFO that's managing, and that's actually going to involve spending a little money probably to make sure those positions are there and funded, but I think that's worth it to be sure that we're managing the money properly. And once again, if there are problems, we're going to have this enforcement part that's going to make sure that things get done and get fixed and that there are regular reports coming back on it. So that's actually some positive news. It doesn't change everything about what's going on, but it is at least positive that we're trying to take some steps forward. And finally, I fought a battle this week against there was an Inspector General for the Maryland State Department of Education that was the first IG that we ever had there. And he was appointed by Governor Hogan, by previous Attorney General Frosch, and the previous treasurer of the state. So 2 Democrats and a Republican had to agree to appoint this guy. He was doing a great job. His term came up. He wanted to be reappointed. He's been finding problems and identifying issues. Governor Moore and Attorney General Brown and the treasurer this time did not want to reappoint him, and they appointed instead somebody who works for the governor in his legal office. Now, I met with this woman, and she's not a bad person. It's not personal attacking her, but my feeling was we should have kept with the guy who was really doing the job well and not pick somebody from a governor's staff. So I opposed that nomination. Now, it did go through. So the person was appointed and went through the Senate successfully. I opposed it, as did the Republicans. But we're trying to send the message that we can't just have business as usual. The Inspector General positions that we have in some of our county governments and at the state level for these agencies like MSDE, we've got to have real teeth there. They need to, when they identify problems, we need to know about it and we need to back them up so that we can get to the bottom of problems when they happen. And even if it's a mistake, even if it's just an honest mistake, and a lot of times that's what it is in government. Somebody's made a mistake, they haven't probably done the proper paperwork, and they haven't followed the right things. We've got to be sure we're following up on that, getting that resolved so the taxpayer money is accountable. We're accountable for the money that people send to our state government, because you send a lot of it, way too much. So that's basically a lot. As you can see, a lot happening this week. I may have an update next week also. I've been able to hold off this really bad vagrancy bill that I've done a couple of short videos about, a bill that was trying to basically say that it's not illegal to be a vagrant anymore in the state. I got an amendment on the bill on the floor, and I thought we were going to have a final vote on the bill, and I was certainly going to fight it, even though the amendment made the bill a little less bad, but it's still not a good bill. But now the bill's been held again, so I'm sort of cautiously hoping we can maybe do something to keep that from passing. I'll have to update that for you next week. Thank you for watching. If you've watched to the end of this long video, you deserve some sort of award. I hope you have a great weekend. Please reach out to me if I can be helpful to you, and God bless.